Now, Air Canada's pilots have been pushing to close the salary gap with the U.S. Their U.S. peers, pilots who work for American airlines. Um, just give us a ballpark. I mean, what does an American pilot with some experience earn compared to a Canadian pilot? Because we're talking about percentages here, but I don't know what that means in real numbers.
So, the senior most pilot at Air Canada, after many years of service operating the wide body aircraft that go across the oceans, would be making in the vicinity of 350,000 Canadian dollars per year.
Right.
In the US, that could be in the US, that could be upwards of 450,000 US dollars, given the increases that we've seen with the major US airlines over the last couple of years. I mean, there's a reason for that. And I think if you take a look at the compensation models in each country, they're vastly different. For example, many American pilots no longer have access to traditional pension plans. Most Air Canada pilots still do. American pilots have, in many cases, to co-fund their medical insurance, which for a family of four could be several $1,000s a year. We know that in Canada, we don't have those types of expenses because of the public healthcare system. So if you take a look at these models and try to compare them, there really has to be an apples to apples comparison of the total compensation that Canadian pilots enjoy versus what American pilots enjoy. And that's really what is the crucial point that's being debated at the table.
And just to be clear, I mean, you are talking about the most experienced, highest paid pilots in that particular scenario. What does a typical pilot who, does hops, a mid-sized plane from one city to another, what are we talking about there for salaries?
So let me just give you an example of the range as to where pilots start. So when a pilot starts at an airline, they typically start on what's called reserve, which basically means that they sit at home waiting for the phone call to fill in for a pilot who is called in sick, who is booked off, or is somehow incapable of operating their flight. A pilot such as that who's waiting by the phone for their flight is guaranteed a minimum pay every month, and that would amount to somewhere in the vicinity about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. So that's very similar to what is paid in the U.S. But again, we have to be making these comparisons on an apples to apples
I
basis
understand.
because the monthly minimums that are paid in each country are very different, and the way they're calculated is also vastly different.